I'm Trip Clark.
I'm Tom Lang, and this is Open Throttle 360.
Open Throttle 360 presented by D&D Salvage, buyers of all types of scrap metal. Best prices, best service. For more information, visit dndsalvagepittsburgh.com.
Once again, we're at Fort Pitt Classic Cars in beautiful downtown Sharpsburg. We're in the sales center, and Trip, some great cars here at Fort Pitt Classic Cars.
I know, it's hard to believe. Every time I'm here, I see a dozen cars in here alone that I would love to drive in a heartbeat. We have a classic Nova, it's a Camaro, classic Cadillac, some Corvettes over here. And then this beast right before our eyes. What is this again? What year is this?
This is a 1957 Cadillac Eldorado Seville. Got a beautiful black paint job on it now, but originally this car was pink on the bottom and blue on the top. Kind of the way they did things back then.
And it's got the gold teeth. I like the gold teeth in front, and then like the missile bumpers.
Yeah, and all that chrome. There's more chrome in this bumper than there is in an entire modern car.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing the cars around here. Well, Tom, we're actually, this is our 4th episode in our abbreviated first season of Open Throttle 360. This is a show I've actually been looking forward to doing for a while, partly because a few weeks ago we had an opportunity to spend some time with Mike Lutz at his Racers for Care benefit out in Ohio.
Yeah, it's a benefit that Mike Lutz and Reverend Bill Beck put together a couple of years ago. Their original intent was to raise money for autism and hospice care, but this year they decided they were also going to include a local driver. Cowboy Brian Steinman was injured in a racing accident in Lernerville this summer. And one thing about racers, they always look out for their own. And Mike and Reverend Bill Beck, they came through. Great event.
Yeah, I was proud to meet Cowboy as well as Brad Doty. I know he's a legend in the sprint car field, and I will say it's the first banquet that I've ever been to in my life when you walk in and there's sprint cars in the facility. It's like chandelier sprint car. There was just something kind of surreal about it.
The racers have a way of taking over and making things their own, and they did a great job of that.
They do. We're going to have an interview coming up in just a little bit with the guys from the benefit, so looking forward to it. And the other thing we have coming up is, are you familiar with the Radical rod? Have you?
Bruce Harvey's 34 Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best parts I like about it, 528 cubic inches of Keith Black Hemi.
It's a beautiful car, it really is.
Open Throttle 360 had a chance to visit Bruce Harvey and take a look at that car.
Okay, Bruce, so obviously customization and restoration is your passion, but there's one project you did that kind of set you apart. What's that?
Well, it'd have to be this Radical rod right here. It's a 1930 Model A. When we built this car, we wanted to keep the Model A look, but make it look really radical. And that's why we call it the Radical rod.
Very nice.
We'll start with the engine.
Sure.
It's a 528 Keith Black Hemi. It's got a 1471 blower and two 1050 Dominators sitting on top. Now this scoop we fabricated and made, which you'll never see another one. That's why it's so huge. All the linkage is inside. And if you look at the front, you'll see that there's no radiator here. I thought that with the polished motor, it looked cool if you could see through the grille and see all the polished chrome. The air for the radiator comes from the scoops sitting in the back. We hand-built those scoops with the chrome bezels. The car itself is about 13 inches lower and about 8 inches wider. Basically, every panel on this car was changed. We hand-formed the front fenders, the running boards, and made the rear fenders.
So my favorite part of the Radical rod is the interior. So exactly how did you come up with this?
Well, I wanted to come up with kind of an industrial look. And if you look inside, it's got chrome bomber seats that are kind of molded in with a center console that molds up to the dash. And what I did is I brought the outside paint inside exactly the same with the stripe following all the way through. and there's actually chrome on the door panels with the strips and stuff like that. Now this is all hand-formed steel, and this whole back piece comes off, and that's how you get to the access the radiator and all the other components that are behind there. And these seats actually are on 2 pins that all you got to do is pull the 2 pins and they pull out, and all electronics are underneath.
Wow. That's great info. So obviously this is not your everyday car. What are some of the reactions you get when you're rolling around in this?
Oh, people freak out. They love the way it sounds. If I actually come into a show and they start following me till where I go, I'll rev it up a couple times and then shut it off. They'll start yahooing and clapping. They love it.
There you go. You're a celebrity. So for your very own wrappable rod or any other kind of star quality customization or restoration, visit Bruce and his team at Route 8 in Pittsburgh or at ProComCustom.com.
Busch Ford in Apollo is celebrating its 40th anniversary with incredible deals on Ford's hottest models. The all-new Ford Escape is loaded with new features and technology, and the new EcoBoost engine delivers the power and performance with impressive fuel efficiency. The newly redesigned 2013 Ford Fusion is easy on the eyes and easy on gas. Available with Bluetooth technology and voice-activated music search, Glenn Busch Ford also has great year-end deals on the best-selling Ford trucks. Glenn Busch Ford, celebrating 40 years on the hill in Apollo.
Would you like to turn your scrap into cash? For more than 30 years, D&D Salvage has been providing the best prices and the best service for all types of scrap metal. From cars to cans, walk it in or haul it in. Located under the 62nd Street Bridge in Lawrenceville, D&D Salvage pays you the best prices in the area. D&D Salvage. Visit them on the web at dndsalvagepittsburgh.com or call them at 412-781-9840. D&D Salvage. Turn your scrap into cash. What the heck are you doing?
I'm just dreaming, dude.
Yeah? Dreaming about something neither one of us can afford, unfortunately.
That's a fact.
Well, before you get carried away, I wanted to talk with you a little bit about this next segment coming up. A few weeks ago, we had an opportunity to go out to the Racers for Care benefit that Mike Lutz puts on. Brad Doty was one of the featured guests there. Tell us a little bit about what Brad Doty means in the sprint car community.
Well, Brad Doty is a hero to the sprint car drivers in this area. He's a local born and bred guy, made his way up through the ranks in this area, and he was on top of the sprint car world in the World of Outlaws when he had his accident in the late 80s.
I think he's a TNN announcer and Sprint Car Hall of Famer. You know,
definitely Hall of Famer.
Cowboy was a rising star as well, and they're both class acts, and it was really an honor and a privilege to get a chance to meet with them and talk with them. And you had a great interview with both of them. Let's go to that now.
Okay, we're at the Racers for Care benefit in Brookfield, Ohio, charity that was developed a couple years ago by Chaplain Bill Beck and racer Mike Lutz. This year, it's got a new aspect to it. They're helping out a local racer by the name of Brian Steinman, otherwise known as the Cowboy. Brian, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having us and having us on the show.
Brian is a sprint car driver and former rodeo rider. That's how he got the name Cowboy. You rode bucking broncos?
Yeah, I rode bareback broncs in the rodeo and was successful at that, but then I broke my arm twice, so Dad and I decided to try out a sprint car, and that's what brought us here.
Compare driving a sprint car and riding in the rodeo.
Well, a sprint car definitely isn't as physically demanding as far as the next morning when you wake up out of bed you can walk, per se, most mornings, but The sprint car is physically demanding in the aspect of usually you have just that few minutes to get out there and make it happen, and you got to go, and you're running off adrenaline pretty much the whole time, and by the time you're done there at the checkered flag, then you're definitely ready to take the helmet off and cool down, because it's usually a good hot summer night.
I know you enjoyed driving the sprint car. Unfortunately, had an incident at Lernerville this year. Tell us just a little bit about that.
I got injured on July 6th down in Lernerville and Saw River down by Butler. I don't remember anything of the day, but I backed the car into a cement wall there, and the fuel tank ruptured and burnt my legs. I had to have my legs skin grafted, and I fractured my C5 vertebrae, and that's what brought me to the wheelchair, and I did my rehab down at UPMC Mercy, and now I'm just trying to get myself stronger and get back at things.
A lot of the people that I've talked to that were dealing with you right after the incident told me how positive your attitude was. How did you develop that positive attitude?
Well, you don't have a choice. I mean, we don't have time machines to go backwards, and you got to focus on getting yourself better, or you're going to just lay there forever and ever being miserable. So I just decided, you know, you have to go forward, and for all of your loved ones, my wife, she works way too hard. Anything I can do to make her life better and take a little bit of stress off because I get healthier and stronger, that's what I want to do. So,
well, we have another gentleman here who who's in a similar situation to you, drove a sprint car and also had an incident, and he went on to make some great things out of it. Brad Doty. Brad, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Well, thanks for having us. I guess, Brian, we're giving sprint cars maybe a bad image here with the both of us sitting in wheelchairs, but you and I were speaking earlier how ironic he goes from riding wild bucking horses, where the injury levels chances are probably pretty high there, to relatively safe sprint car racing, and we both ended up in chairs, but we both kind of, I think, knew going in that that's a risk we take and we're willing to take, and unfortunately our number was drawn, and here we are.
Also similar to Brian, when you had your incident, a lot of people stepped up to help you, just like we're doing here today.
Absolutely, and that's what we're all here for. The cards and letters that people sent after my injury. Mine was a long time ago, 1988, when my accident happened, but and it was a different age. The internet and cell phones, things. It wasn't what it is today, but we still had a tremendous amount of help in my situation from all over the world, literally, and that's what we're here to help Brian this time, and try to raise some money for him and his family, and the Racers for Care organization in general, and we're all pulling together.
I had never been a member of a fitness club before Club Julian, but when working out on my own just wasn't working, I realized I needed help. The thing that attracted me to Club Julian was that personal training was included in my membership. Working with a professional trainer not only helps me get results, it allows me to make the most of my fitness time. And that's really important, because I'm on call 24/7 with my job and as a dad. Change your life one workout at a time at Club Julian 24-Hour Fitness.
The best tires, parts, and service. Tire Town.
Now let's go to the second part of the interview with Brad Doty and Cowboy Steinman.
For a decade, Brad Doty has dreamed of again lapping Eldora. Tonight, that dream becomes reality. Ladies and gentlemen, TNN Motorsports is so very proud to show you live pictures of Brad Doty back behind the wheel. For the first time since his crash, a career-ending crash 10 years ago tonight at the Kings Royal. We salute you, number 18, and celebrate a brilliant career that, though cut short, has never diminished the man. Because, Brad Doty, you are the man.
Well, you were able to turn it into a positive for yourself with your announcing with the World of Outlaws. You did well after your incident.
Yeah, I was fortunate. A few years after my accident, the World of Outlaws had a winter series that ran out in Arizona for 10 weeks out every winter, and they did it live every weekend for 10 straight weeks. And the first year they did it, they had Jeff Swindell, who's a driver, as the color guy. And the following year when they did it again, he had a ride for the race, so he couldn't do the color, and he suggested me to try to do the color broadcast of the TV, and I had no training, no experience, and they basically just threw me in the booth, and I found out in TV time, 15, 30 seconds, that's eternity. I was with Mike Joy, who does now all the Fox NASCAR stuff, and Dick Berggren, who was a pit reporter for Fox till he retired this year. They were the two guys in the booth with me, and I hear the producer in my ear, 60 seconds, we're going live, and you hear him counting down, and they're standing up talking and laughing and joking. I'm thinking, we're getting ready to go live TV in front of the whole world here. I'm scared to death, shaking, and they're so relaxed. And when they started getting down about 15 to go, they sat down and got serious. And I realized with 15 seconds, that takes a while in TV time. So I got used to it over time, and I've been very fortunate that it has kept me involved in the sport we love.
Well, you talked about you were nervous when you were about to go live. Which caused more nervous conditions, driving a sprint car or being on live TV?
As I was teasing Brian earlier, because it's Mike Dutko said something about getting him up in the booth, to announce with him. A lot of these places I did TV, there were no elevators, and they'd get 2 or 3 guys to grab me in the wheelchair and take me right up through the grandstands. Now, if it was a stairway where there was a railing I could hang on to, that was okay, but when they take me up through the grandstands and the guy behind's walking backwards and the guy in front, and every time they step, they're rocking me back and forth. And that's why I was teasing Brian. I've never been as scared in a race car as I am when they take me up and down the steps to get me in and out of the booth at some of the TV broadcasts. So I like the tracks that have an elevator a lot better.
So it's not racing or announcing, it's actually getting through the grandstand that scares you.
Yeah, getting in and out, and especially when you're up there at Knoxville, Iowa, the first year they built the new towers, it's 4 stories high, and the elevator wasn't connected yet. So these guys took me up 4 flights of stairs, and we get up there, and the tornado sirens start going off in Knoxville. Knoxville, Iowa is a farm town southeast of Des Moines, Iowa. The tallest thing in town is the grandstands at Knoxville, Iowa. And Ralph Shaheen and I are in the booth, and the cameras guys are on the roof. They've bailed, they're down. Everybody's downstairs, and the producer comes in our ear, and he says, Ralph and Brad, we need you to hang tight for just a little bit here. We're gonna come back and do a hit for the show. And Ralph I tease him, he used me for an excuse. He said, there's no elevator, there's tornado sirens. Maybe we ought to get Brad down out of the booth here while we can. And it's pouring down rain, and they're taking me down the steps in the pouring down rain. That's even worse than going up when it's dry. So we've had some good experiences.
Brian, you've got a long road ahead of you. What do you see coming down the road for you in the future?
I'm gonna work as hard as I can rehab-wise. Well, not rehab, therapy-wise. And I'm gonna get stronger, and I wanna focus on getting as mobile as I possibly can and being able to, hopefully by spring I can drive and have my upper body strong enough so I can transfer myself and be able to do a little more on my own. And that's my main focus for really like the next year, is because that's when most likely everything will heal to its best and you can get the most back with your spinal cord injuries. So that's what I'm looking for.
I know you can take solace in the things Brad's accomplished, and I told you a story earlier about the drag racer Daryl Gwynn, who suffered some devastating injuries in a crash in England in 1990. The first time he returned to a track after that was at Indianapolis in 1990, and I had the good fortune to be able to talk to him. His attitude was so positive, and he's gone on to do some great things through the Daryl Gwynn Foundation, raising money to give motorized wheelchairs to people in need. The attitude that people have told me you've exhibited is the same as the one he had and what we've known that Brad had. They've both gone on to do some great things, and you've got that in you too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That's what I'll find my niche and just work for it, and that's what I'm really looking forward to in life. You got a new curveball to throw at me, and now I'm just ready to get working towards that. So,
well, you got to feel good about all the people that showed up here today to help raise some money for you and just show that they're still on your side.
Yeah, it's amazing the support that I've gotten from so many people everywhere, and just like Brad had said there, it's amazing the people you get in those little cards. You might be having your worst day and you get a bunch of Boy Scouts that wrote you little cards, and you sit there and you flip through them and you go, life isn't that bad, So it is really great, and this has been a great turnout, and I got to especially thank Mike Lutz for putting it together and Bill Beck. They've been great help. They were to the hospital quite a few times seeing me, and it's helped the road be a little shorter, I'll say.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us, and good luck down the road. And next year when we're lining up guest hosts for Open Throttle 360, we're going to give you a call and see if you have the time to help me out and guest host the show with me.
Yeah, I'd love to do that and look forward to trying it.
All right, thank you, and thank you, Brad, for all you've done to help this event. This is Tom Lang reporting for Open Throttle 360. Boy, I hope that Brian takes us up on the offer to co-host Open Throttle 360. If you've got a street rod or a muscle car and you'd like to have more money to put into that one, you need to save some money on the parts for your daily driver. You can do that in Millerstown Pick-A-Part.
If you're looking for quality used parts, Millerstown Pick-A-Part is one of the best places in the area to do that. I'm with Mike Norris, manager of Millerstown Pick-A-Part. Mike, tell us a little bit about your facility and why customers would want to come here.
Well, here at Millerstown, it's a you pull it yourself yard, so that gives you the opportunity to save money by pulling it yourself and not having to pay somebody else to pull it. And also, it enables you to learn how to fix your car by taking the part off. I talk to a lot of people that leave here and say, man, I pulled this alternator off my car and I had no idea how to get it off, and I looked around and looked at different cars and kind of taught myself how to pull it off. So I think that really, encourages people to come out, because if you're afraid of working on your car, you can come tear apart one of ours.
So self-service is going to save me a little bit of money, but I also have the option, if I don't want to do that, I can pull up here and just say, hey guys, I'm looking for a side view mirror, and you guys can help me do that too?
Correct. Yes, for a small fee, depending on the part, we could pull the mirror off for you or show you how to pull the mirror off. And if we don't have it in our inventory, we have a state-of-the-art software system where we can look nationwide at thousands of junkyards throughout, the United States and find any part you need. We try to, cover all aspects of, the car world, I guess. I mean, we have everything from present day to the older cars. I mean, there's a 71 Oldsmobile over there, all the way back to there's a 50 Dodge sitting over there. So we try to, have a car for everybody and try to, support everybody's car interests by, having a car for them.
Yeah. I do not lend my tools, don't ask. For one of the largest selections of used auto parts in the entire region, Millerstown Pick-A-Part. Where do I find them on the web?
MillerstownPickapart.com.
From complete restoration to custom paint to custom fabrication to resto-mod, Bruce Harvey ProComp Custom offers a variety of services for cars, trucks, SUVs, and motorcycles. For more than 2 decades, ProComp's award-winning work has blown away customers all over the globe. Whether it's hot rod, muscle, vintage, or classic, ProComp will work with you to design a look that'll turn heads. Visit Bruce Harvey ProComp Custom at ProCompCustom.com.
Would you like to turn your scrap into cash? For more than 30 years, D&D Salvage has been providing the best prices and the best service for all types of scrap metal. From cars to cans, walk it in or haul it in. Located under the 62nd Street Bridge in Lawrenceville, D&D Salvage pays you the best prices in the area. D&D Salvage. Visit them on the web at dndsalvagepittsburgh.com or call them at 412-781-9840. D&D Salvage. Turn your scrap into cash. All right, Tom, on Open Throttle 360, we sure see our share of muscle cars. This ain't a muscle car.
Far from it. This is a 1956 Willys. Nowadays they'd call this an SUV, but back then that term didn't exist. This summer we were at the Wexford Starlight Car Cruise and we saw another car that nowadays might be called an SUV. It was a 1957 Chevy sedan delivery, styled as a junior stalker.
Very nice. Let's check it out.
We're at the Wexford Starlight Car Cruise. Keith, this looks like the old junior stalkers they used to run in NHRA. Was this actually a race car at one time?
Yes, this raced in Jackson, South Carolina in 1969 and 70 as a K Stalker and junior stock.
How did it come into your possession?
I found it on the internet about 2 years ago and went down to Greenville, South Carolina and purchased it.
How much of it's original and what did you do to it?
Well, the motor and stuff's original. I put new headers on it and redid the interior and put some fresh paint on it, and that's about it.
I've noticed a lot of the names on the car are local names, but the paint job, it almost looks like a period piece, the paint job. Did you go to great effort to make it look that way?
Yes, I did actually. I found a guy over in Ohio that still does all that paintwork by hand, and he came over to my house one day and lettered the whole car by hand, and I wanted it to be period correct.
Is it ever going to see a racetrack again?
Oh, I'm sure it'll be on a racetrack sooner or later.
Hopefully sooner than later?
Hopefully sooner than later, right.
Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to us, and enjoy your time with this car.
Oh, I'm going to do that. Thank you for interviewing me.
Now that is a sound I can listen to all day long.
If that don't get you doing the Huckley Buck, you just don't dance.
No doubt. And thanks to Fort Pitt Classic Cars, who allows us to hang around with cars like this.
Also like to thank the folks from the Racers for Care benefit, some really good people working for a really good cause.
Yeah, it is. And if you want to help them out, and we encourage you to do that, just go to OpenThrottle360.com and click on the Racers for Care link, and you can find out how you can help them out.
And while you're there, we'd appreciate any comments or suggestions you may have for us here at Open Throttle 360.
Yeah, and the reason that's important is because we're wrapping up our 4th episode of Season 1 with this show right here. And a few weeks off hiatus, and then we'll be back on the air mid-January. And if you want to find out the full schedule for Open Throttle 360, again, go to OpenThrottle360.com. And Tom, Season 2 is shaping up to be even better than Season 1, I feel it.
I can't wait to be a part of it. So like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you next season.